This one is probably not going to be a short video. It's going to be a little bit of a rant. As you can see behind me, I have a copy of Super Mario Brothers for the Commodore 64 running on my Mister. Now, I'm making this video because I've been seeing videos pop up in my feed a lot lately where people are talking about games like this, and in the comments people are talking about using up to jump and wiring a second button that presses up so that they can jump, and it kind of annoys me because we live in a day and age where a lot of development is going on for retro platforms, and they're taking advantage of modern features. Now, I myself have 3D printed and made a competition pro style joystick with a couple of extra buttons. These can be wired to the X and Y potentiometers of the joystick line to allow you to have a second and third fire button. There aren't a lot of games that support it from that era. You have some Commodore 64 GS systems that did support a second fire button. I believe they used the X-Pot. But we have modern day development going on, such as this right here, that do use those buttons. And a lot of people aren't even aware that you can use a second fire button or a third fire button. And a lot of games that do support them that are coming out now are restricted by people still acting like we only have one fire button. Don't limit yourself. You have options. In fact, there are some games that have been remade that support the second fire button. And an exhaustive list I can't name off the top of my head, but if you do a Google search, you'll find that there are some games that have been recreated. I think the Nostalgia's Ghosts and Goblins is one of them, but I'm not 100% sure. But in addition to two fire buttons, we also have games that support multiple SIDs, such as this game right here. Allow you to have all of the sound from the NES version, and it's actually pretty convincing. And then, of course, we have support for turbo. So if you have a Commodore 128 or if you have a Ultimate 64, you can use those turbo modes to make the game lag a little bit less. What I'm basically saying is don't limit yourself. We have options these days, and I would like to see more older games patched to support the extra joysticks, and I would also like to see some modern development take better advantage of it. Instead of the whole idea that, well, we didn't have but one button back in the day, so I don't want to support more than one button today because that's not authentic. I don't like that attitude. I mean, you can if you want, play how you want, but if I'm developing anything, I'm going to take advantage of all the features I've got. So let this be known, if I ever do any C64 development, which is unlikely, but you never know, I will be using the multiple fire buttons, and I will not be catering to people who do not have them. So you will see me taking advantage of anything I've got available to me, and I think more developers should. Games like Sam's Journey, I believe, just recently had a patch to allow the second fire button, and that's the kind of thing I think we should see more of, because, you know, I know a lot of people are nostalgic for what they had back then. I mean, look at all of them ZX Spectrum fans that still think it was a great machine, even though everybody outside of Europe really kind of laughs at them. But we don't have to limit ourselves. We can use modern equipment, we can use emulation, we can use FPGA systems, or if you want to use original hardware, go for it. But the original hardware supported multiple fire buttons, and there's no reason we should restrict ourselves to just one. And a lot of people are probably playing Super Mario Brothers on an emulator anyway. So why would you restrict yourself to using up to jump when you're probably already playing the game on a platform that supports? And this is kind of laggy because the capture is probably about 3 or 4 frames behind. So this is not the kind of game you want to play with a bunch of input lag. Now, if I was looking at the screen, I wouldn't notice the lag so much. It actually is pretty good, but oh, come on. Anyway, so my point is, get yourself a modern controller. They're available, or you can modify one the way I did. and enjoy these games the way they were meant to be played. Now, I mean, that's kind of a contradiction, since Nintendo would probably tell you this was never meant to be played on a Commodore 64. And let's be honest, other than as a curiosity, there really isn't a whole lot of point in this, because if we wanted to play Super Mario Brothers, we would do it on an NES or an emulator, and as great as this port is, I mean, it's still a port. So it's not like there's any shortage of ways to play this game. Still, there are a lot of games on the Commodore 64 that do have, or are coming up these days, that have multiple button support. I say a lot, but it's not really a lot. But if you do a Google search, you'll find other games that do support it. And knowing that, don't limit yourself to a single button joystick. You have options. And this right here is just a clone of the Competition Pro that you can find print files for all over the internet. I just modified it to have a couple of extra holes for fire buttons. You can wire them up, and there's documents online showing you how to do that. If you're going to do it, you really should probably put a couple of resistors in there just to protect those CIAs, because, I mean, they're getting old and nobody wants to fry a CIA. It should be safe to just ground it out, but add a couple of resistors. They're cheap, and the peace of mind is worth it. Anyway, that's all I've got. I know I'm probably going to catch some flack for some of the things I said in this video, but you know what? Hey, engagement is engagement, so if you're going to come at me, come at me. Comments below. That's all I've got for this video. It's a little bit outside of my normal thing, if I have a normal thing. And the next video you see will probably be about fuselage, so until then, sausage, beer, all that stuff. Later.